Hello students. Today we'll start with chapter number 7, that is Indian economy. Now what is economy? So the state of a country or region in terms of the production and consumption of goods and services and the supply of money, that is total how much production is done in the country, how much goods are consumed by the people, services, and what is the total supply of money in a country. Now a prominent example of an economy, that is the traditional economy, that encompasses or that is which includes the customs and history of a nation, we can say, that is to guide the production and distribution of goods. Traditional economy, it is mostly based on agriculture, fishing and hunting, we can say. But nowadays there are some traditional economics, but mixed traditional economics, we can say. So what do you mean by a mixed traditional economy? A mixed traditional economy, it uses mostly cash and encompasses elements of capitalism, as it allows ownership of production factors and control over the distribution of these factors in society. Moreover, other forms of mixed traditional economics are on a nomadic scale, that is it encompasses elements of socialism, which allows the distribution of production to those who work for it. Now, important economic aspects of India in pre-British and ancient time. Now, before discussing these points, let us discuss about ancient India, or the little details about Indian economy, we can say. Now, as we all know that India is the largest democratic country and it has a rich cultural diversity, we can say, right? That is, it has various religions, culture, traditions, different languages, different customs, right? That is unity in diversity, we can say. Now, as we all know that India was named as Bharat in the ancient times, that is, it was after the name of the son of King Dushyant and his queen Shakuntala. And our country was extremely prosperous and it was well known for its agricultural, traditional crafts and trade, so which attracted many foreigners for the trade purpose. However, the foreigners who came to trade with our country, they started ruling over our country, and in order to exploit our rich resources, they ruined our ancient economic and cultural heritage both. Between year 1526 to 1858, that is between 16th to 19th century, we can say, the Mughals ruled the entire nation or some regions. Besides the French, the Portuguese and the Dutch, they also ruled over some parts for some time. And after that, finally, the British established their rule over India almost from 1757 to 1947. So, the period from 1757 to 1858, it was also known as the period of East India Company, as the rule of British origin came here to trade, but they established its rule. And after that, the British established its government of India. And if we talk about ancient India, so the Indian civilization, which is known to have emerged from the influences of the invasion of the Aryan tribe and Indus Valley civilization, which is also called the Harappan civilization, and is identified as the ancient age and the remains of the civilization that were first found in the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, and still we can find the remains in Gujarat at Lothal and Dholavira. So this civilization they give us evidence of organization, prosperity, urban planning and development which was there at that time. And from the viewpoint of manufacturing activity, India was known for its cloth, muslin, jute, indigo from pre-British times. Now let us look at the occupational structure, that is the important economic aspects of India in pre-British and ancient time, which is mostly divided in three types, that is agriculture, industries and services. Now agriculture. So as we all know that India was an agriculture and is an agricultural sector or country we can say. So Indian agriculture sector it was prosperous and variety of crops were grown. And in villages almost all the people they were mostly dependent or employed in agriculture sector we can say. So villages they were self-reliant and basic necessities like grains, vegetables, fruits, clothes, shoes, etc. They were produced in the village economy, as well as cattle rearing and dairy farming were also undertaken we can say. Next come is the industries. So according to the historian Raj Chaudhary, prior to 19th century, India was a prominent center of some items of manufacturing. That is, it was well known, our country India, it was well known for some of the things like cotton, jute, wool, then idols making, indigo, earthenware, etc. And from this, some of these were goods were also exported we can say. And the third one it comes is services. So before 600 BC, India it was having a system of minting metal coins. So it had a wonderful system of town planning, sewage, stable political system, unity among the people. And because of all this, the trade in agricultural goods and manufactured goods was prosperous. The evidence of all these things can still be found in Gujarat, that is at the Lothal place. Second comes is national income or economic prosperity. Now, India it was extremely prosperous with a share of 25% of the world wealth during Maurya dynasty we can say. And during this time, most regions of the geographical area of present India it were under one rule. During the Mughal rule, India commanded almost 90% of the wealth of Southern Asian region, and high taxes and excise were also generated. And during the rule of Aurangzeb, that is around 1700 AD, the national income of India was 10 crore pounds. So actually if we say the foreigners, those who came to India for the richness only, or for the richness of our country. The old age it was also known as the golden age. Indian economy before independence during the British rule. Now here we will discuss the points regarding what was the condition of Indian economy, how Indian economy was there before our country got independence, or we can say that is during the British rule, what was or how was the condition of Indian economy. 13 points we will discuss it over here. Now as we all know that India it was good in agriculture and it was very famous for the clothes, that is cotton, muslin, indigo, and then the spices, some of the metals like cotton, copper, bronze. Apart from it, the companies or the western rulers who ruled over our country like Portuguese, English, Dutch, okay, they mostly got attracted to India because of its richness. Now, Indian economy also attained the following during the British rule. That is, first one is railway. So the British set up the railway infrastructure in India, and with the first train that ran between Borivandar, which is currently known as CST, and Thane on 16th of April 1853. And by 1947, that is when India got independence, India had rail network of 53,000 kilometer, which benefited a population of 68 lakhs. Then second comes is roadways, that is road construction. Now the British rule, or the British, they also created a good roads in India, that is PWD department, Public Works Department. Now under this, basic utilities were created. So by the end of 19th century, if we talk, so there were total 2,78,420 kilometer of roads, and which increased to 4,47,105 by the year 1943. And from that is total roads, if we compare, almost 32% of the road, they were the concrete roads, and 68% were kacha road, we can say. Then comes the banking sector, that is banks. Now private sector banks came into being in India from 1770, and by 1946 there were more than 700 banks in India. And the RBI, which is also known as the apex or the central bank of the country, so it was set up, that is RBI was set up in the year 1935. Then comes social structure. So certain wrong social practices were abolished during the British rule. For example, prevention of female infanticide, sati pratha. Now sati pratha, this was one of the most important, or we can say, or very crucial thing or change which was brought by the Britishers in Indian religion. Agriculture. Now agriculture, so Indian agriculture suffered from high revenues, that is the system of zamindari, landlordship, we can say. So there was exploitation of several types, and poverty in this sector started increasing. That is, after industrial revolution in Britain, the Britishers made Indian farmers grow more indigo to fulfill the need of their textile industry. And if farmers had taken a loan to grow indigo, and if they have incurred losses, the British government did not waive off their loans, and the farmers started incurring and accumulating debts. They made it compulsory, we can say, or they forced farmers to grow indigo in their farms, and they gave loan. But if the farmers, they incurred losses, the Britishers, they were not waiving off their loans, and hence the farmers, they started accumulating debts because they were not able to repay the loan amount which they took. Next is the land revenues. Now the East India Company, it was having right to collect land revenues from the kings in India, and with that also it got the rights to collect land revenues from owners of farming lands. And after that, the British government collected land revenues from the farmers through zamindars. And the farmers, those who were not able to pay the amount, or we can say those who were not able to pay the land revenues, the government punished the farmers by taking their lands, or by charging fines from them, or in some other manner, we can say. So land revenues were as high as half of the produce of farmers. That is, whatever the production was done in their farms by the farmers, land revenue was so high that it almost took the half of the production of the farmers. Then high rates of taxes. That is the tax which the people used to pay. So according to Dadabhai Naoroji's, the calculations in 1876, that is the rich people, they used to pay about 8% of the national income as taxes, while the Indians who were poor, they were made to pay 15% of the national income as taxes. Eighth point, that is high rates of excise and customs. Now, high excise was collected on matches, sugar, steel, silver, and all such type of commodities. Now, though salt was easily available in India, then also the British, they termed it as illegal to produce salt by Indians on seashores, and they monopolized salt trade and imported salt to India by levying very high custom duties, and thus they made salt also a expensive commodity for the poor Indians. A high duty, that is up to 15%, were imposed on cotton cloth export from India, so that the Indian cloth industry received a setback, so that the exports will be less. Whereas the cotton cloth import from Manchester in England came to India at very low import tariff, that is round about 2.5% we can say, because the Britishers, they wanted that export India's long staple cotton to England and sell its manufactured cloth in India. So thus India's raw materials were exploited so that British industry could thrive at the cost of Indian industry, we can say. That is, Britishers can establish or they can expand their industry on the cost of Indian industry. They do not wanted to promote Indian industry. Next come is industrial policy. Now the period from 1750 to 1830, it was the period of industrial revolution. East India Company had, by that time they have started, that is establishing rule in India, and in year 1858 the British government established its rule in our country. They adopted a policy that made the Indian investors lose their confidence. The development of Indian industries was lopsided in character, in the sense that only some light and consumer goods industries were started and no attention was given to the machine manufacturing and heavy engineering and heavy chemical industries. The policy was, that is the main policy of the British government, was to send raw materials from India to Britain and sell the goods which is made in Britain again back to India at a higher rate. Next comes economic exploitation. So in order to benefit their own economy, the East India Company and later, that is the British government, they adopted a policy which exploited the Indian resources and they promoted the British industries. So Indian agriculture was exploited by high land revenues. Then exploitation of artisans. Now British government or East India Company, they exploited artisans by obtaining goods from them at up to 15 to 40% lower prices and sold them in the world at a higher prices and made high profits. That is, what they used to do is, from the people of India or from the artists of India, they used to buy the goods at a very less price or very low price, and they used to sell it in the market at very high price, which led them a very good amount of profits. Apart from it, after the British government rule, they also started selling in India cheap goods which was manufactured in England, and they ruined the small scale industries in India. Then come the investment pattern. Now the British, they made only those investment in India which benefited Britain. That is, they invested only in such sector. They made investment in our country, but they made investment only in such sectors which had benefited or which can benefit their own country. For example, railways and road networks, they were created to help movement of raw materials and goods for their industries. Now investment in education, they have invested in education. Now that was made to educate personnel to run the British administration, and Indians were prevented from getting technical education. They also started colleges for medicine and civil engineering in India for their own benefit, because they needed civil engineers for public work departments in India as well as in Britain. And they did not promote studies in science technology in India. So thus they made selective investment in India, we can say. That is selective investment by investment pattern or selective investment. What we can understand by this word, that is the thing which can benefit them. Why they created railways and roadways? Because the goods which they want to sell, okay, so it can be easily transported for their industries. They can easily send it. So because of that, they have created railways and roadways. They wanted educated people to run their department, that is true for the administration of the Britishers. So that's why they made colleges. They started the colleges, right? And last one comes is the payment burden. Now payment burden means what? Now various payments they were made to British from India's income, besides huge salary of British personnel. Now British personnel who was sent here or who was working here, they were paid, or they were highly paid. A good amount of salary was paid to them. But apart from it, many extra expenses were also done. That is, there was a huge amount of money which India paid towards the administration, maintenance of the army, war expenses, pensions to the retired officers, and other expenses which is accrued by the Britain towards maintenance of her colony. So these all the expenses, they were known as the home charges. The home charges, it were made of three components. That is interest payment for debts incurred in maintaining Indian colony, interest on the railways, and civil and military charges. So finally, when we got independence, that is in year 1947, that is when Britishers left India. So Indian agriculture, industry and trade, they were devastated. A country, that is India, which was highly prosperous at one time, it was impoverished now, we can say. So these were some of the key points of Indian economy before we got independence, that is in year 1947 or during the British rule. So summarize these points, or we can summarize these points like railways and roadways, it was constructed for the benefit, so that the goods can be transported easily in there or to their industries. Then banks, social sector, agriculture. Apart from it, they used to collect a very high amount of taxes from the poor people. Even the rich used to pay less amount of tax, and the poor people used to pay high rate of taxes. Then high rate of excise and customs. Apart from it, the Britishers, they levied very high duty on the export, and on import of their own goods they charge very less amount of interest. Apart from it, economic exploitation of artisans, they used to buy the goods at a very less amount of rate or very less price, and in international market or in the world they used to sell it a very high price. So they used to earn a high or huge profit from it. Now investment was selective, that is where the Britishers, they thought that they can get benefit, there only they made the investment, like roadways, railways, then education and payment burden, that is home charges, or apart from the salary many extra expenses were there which are incurred from the Indian money or India's income, we can say.